Hey YouTube, welcome back to the channel, the build, and all the fun stuff involved. So what I'm going to be doing today, a couple more little items. I need to figure out tie downs for the rear, and I think what I'm going to do is something like this, and I am going to weld it onto that main frame and stick it up like that, and then I'll just cut a notch in this plate and weld that all in. So I think that's the cleanest way. I really don't want, like I said, I don't want D-rings clanking around on here, so eventually it's just going to wear through the coating I put on it, and it's going to create problems. So I think this is the best way to go. So I'm going to cut these out. I got some, I think this is 3/8. It's pretty thick. So I'm going to cut it out of here, get some beefy mounts made. So let's get to it. I'm going to trace these out, and for this I think I'm just going to use a hole saw and just cut that like that, and then just take an angle grinder and cut the slits in it down. So let's get to work. Alright guys, here they are. Turned out pretty good. Not perfect, but for a cutoff wheel and a hole saw, that should definitely do the job. So these are pretty beefy. These should definitely hold up to some abuse. So like I said, I'm going to weld these on right about there and leave, I don't know, I'm going to go grab a chain and see if I'm able to hook a chain to it. But I want to leave enough to be able to hook some decent size hooks in there, so we will see. So yeah, I'm just going to tack these on there, and then I'll just have to cut a notch in this plate, and that should finish up the rear. I was thinking of a couple, but it's hard with a deck like this with no actual side rails or anything. It's hard to get a good looking hook somewhere, so I think I'll just go with these two. If I need to, I can always strap onto here. This is plenty strong here, so I can always strap around the side, but having this hook here definitely is going to be nice. So let's get these on there. Alright guys, hooks are on, fully welded in, looking pretty beefy. I mean, realistically, the only thing I could have done better is plate on this actual frame, but really I'm just tying down crap in the bed. It doesn't need to be that strong, so that's gonna be plenty strong for anything I ever tie down to it. Plus that's gonna be nice for lifting the bed off too. Like I said, this thing isn't super heavy, so I'm not too terribly worried about those. Definitely aren't going to break from lifting up the bed. So next thing I got to do is just grind out. Actually, I may just bevel the edge here on this plate where I cut it. So I got to just make a few marks, cut this plate out so this can come through it. Alright boys, we're good to go on the hook. So now I'm going to pull sheet metal off. I'm going to get the bed off, and I got some primer, so I'm going to prime, like I said, the top of this hitch. So let's get all this off, get that prepped, cleaned up, and ready for some primer. Alright guys, so for prep work, what I'm going to be doing is sanding the crap out of it with 80 grit, and that should give it some pretty good bite for the primer. This is what I'm using for primer. It's an epoxy black, and you want to use a good high quality 2K epoxy primer on this stuff. You don't want any 1K products. they're not as durable and they don't have the adhesion that a good 2K does. So for you people that don't know a lot about paint, 2K just essentially means it's a 2. It uses a the actual primer and then a catalyst or a hardener, and then actually this one you can reduce it just a little bit. So yeah, we're gonna put that on. Make sure you clean the crap out of it with something. So you want to use a silicone, or silicone wax grease remover, something that really cleans and gets all the oil off, because this is all oiled when they oil it all so it doesn't rust. So what I'm going to do is clean it all, sand it, clean it again, and then we can get priming. So basically right now all I'm really going to do, I'm just going to focus on getting the tops of all this and basically this whole back panel. Some of it, yeah, I can get in through here, but I'm just going to get this whole back panel and the top of all this hitch stuff, get a nice coat of primer on that, just so I know there's something on it, so it doesn't rust as soon as I bring it outside. So let's get to work. Alright, got this whole back section scuffed up and cleaned it again, washed it all off, so I'm not going to touch it. You don't want to touch it at all. Even the little grease, the little bit of grease you got on your fingertips can destroy a paint job by touching after you cleaned it. So go through and just wipe the crap out of it. Wipe it like 4 times till you get very little black crap on the rags. I mean, it's bare steel and it's gonna shed a little bit, but just clean it, clean it, clean it. Make sure it's clean. And then I also have my little fuel tank or cover filler box deal that I'm gonna shoot some primer on too. So I'm gonna mix this stuff up, and make sure when you got a product, make sure you get the sheet for it, the product info sheet. There's a lot of, it has all the mixing ratios, and then it also shows here allow 15-minute period before applying. So you want to mix it, let it sit for 15 minutes before you spray it. So, and then it's got all the cure times and everything. So get this get that product info sheet for what you're using. So let's get some primer mixed up, load the gun up, let it sit for a little bit, and we can shoot some on. I'm not too worried about overspray. I'm just doing a small area. It's gonna be, just not much primer coming out, so not going to be much overspray. Not worried about that yet. Alright guys, primer's all on. So that's definitely going to help out with trying to prime this top area, after I get all this plate on. So next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to prep everything before I put this plate on. It's going to be so much easier to prep this plate when it's off. I'm just going to take a DA 80 grit sandpaper, sand the crap out of it, top and bottom, and all these sides and everything, and I'm going to go through and sand all this tube up too, and just get everything prepped and sanded, and it's going to be a lot easier while it's apart. And then I'll put the plate on, weld it, grind it, do one last cleaning, and then we can prime the whole thing. Alright guys, one thing I decided to do before I go any further is I'm going to put a couple braces in here, just to make sure that the stuff doesn't start sagging out if I put something heavy in there. So I'm just going to do one down the center, and I think that'll stiffen it up quite a bit. So I got them all cut out, ready to go. So I'm going to weld those in, and then I'm going to go through, sand everything, give it a good cleaning on the deck itself, and then all the sheeting, all the plate, I'm going to go through and sand, and then we'll weld all that plate on and grind it out smooth. Alright guys, got all these, all the plate prepped. This stuff is no fun to sand. It's got this, you know, really light mill. It's not even really a mill scale. I guess it is, but it's not like a hot rolled steel. It's really thick and gummy, but it is extremely hard, and to get a scuff on it takes a lot. But I think we got it pretty close, so gotta clean this off, blow it off, wipe it, and then I'm gonna get the sheets on the deck, weld all that on, grind everything. Alright boys, got this stuff mostly ground out. Turned out pretty good. So I'm gonna leave some of these welds here. I'll probably actually leave this whole seam here, the seam on top, and then coming down. That's, to be honest, completely honest, that's just gonna be a pain to grind. Plus, you know, once I put the bed liner and everything on it, you probably, I mean, yeah, you'll be able to see it, but it'll kind of blend in. So I got a little more grinding right there, but yeah, these edges came out pretty good. Come down here, then this whole seam on the edge, it's like it never was there. Looks pretty good. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna actually take this thing off the sawhorses and just set it on some blocks on the ground, because I'm gonna be able to climb up in here to weld all this front part. And I don't really trust these sawhorses. They're not too beefy, so I'm gonna rig up some blocks, get on the ground, and then we'll get these seams all welded in the front and then down these sides. we got all that welded in. I didn't really feel like doing a complete weld along the front. It really doesn't need it. But these are fully welded in. So I'm going to leave those welds. They turned out pretty good. I think I'm going to call that good. I'm going to go do one last prep. Obviously where I welded underneath, I got to grind all that crap off the top, off the surface, and go through and just give it one more good scuff, good cleaning, and then we can prime it. But I probably won't get to that in this video. I need to figure out, I need to complete the tail lights and get all that drilled in and ready to go before I prime it. So that's what we're going to work on next. So here's what I got for tail lights. These are just trailer lights. They're actually LED, and they're all integrated into, basically has everything in this one light. So it's got this is the running light, this little C light, it's got the brake slash blinker on the center, and then these outside are reverse lights actually. So that's pretty cool. And these are flush mounts, so I won't have to cut a huge hole. I just got to cut a hole in the center for the wiring to go through, and then just drill 4 holes for the mounting bolts, and we should be good. So those are just going to mount right about there. So I'm going to get some holes drilled, get those in. This is the license plate light, just a little single LED, and actually I already drilled holes for it there, and so that's good to go. So I'm gonna get some holes drilled for those tail lights, get those in. Just want to get that 100% complete before I spray any primer on it. Alright guys, got them holes all drilled in. So that's about how it's going to look, and then license plate and a license plate light right in the center there. So I think that'll look pretty good. So yeah, I just got to go get some all the hardware for these tail lights, and then wiring it is a whole different story because these are trailer lights. They have the turn signal and the brake light in one circuit. So when you're putting them on the truck, you're going to have to convert it, and I'm going to go over all that in one of the next videos after I get all this done and I wire it. I'm going to film everything, show you exactly how to do it. So pretty simple really. You just need a little converter to convert the signal, to combine the turn signal and the brake signal. So not a big deal there. We'll get that figured out. That's about it for now. Got everything welded in. I think I'm just going to leave all this. So like I said, I'm going to go do one more walk through, clean everything up, get all the little weld splatter off and everything, and finish grinding all these little areas that need just a little bit of touch up, and then we can get to priming it. Alright guys, I'm going to end this video here. We got a lot accomplished, got the whole deck fully welded in, got the tail lights, all that figured out. I was really hoping to get this primed in this video, but the next few days I'm not going to have a whole lot of time to work on it, and that primer. So how that primer works is you spray it on and you have 72 hours to top coat it. If you don't top coat it within 72 hours, you have to completely sand and scuff the entire surface, which is not something I want to do. I'd rather spray primer, come back the next day, shoot the Raptor liner, and just be done with it. So that's kind of the game plan. In a couple days, I'll have a few consecutive days I can actually work on this thing. So I'll be able to prime it, coat it, and have it complete, done. And then we can throw it on the truck, wire it all, and be done with it. I want to say one more thing. I think I confused a couple people. I had a few weird comments about the filler, the fuel tank filler. So this box I built. People are saying like, why don't you just run the cap? Well, I am running the cap, but I'm also running this box on top of it. And the reason I wanted to encase that cap is because the cap is vented, and that's where you get the suction of air into the tank as the tank drains, and if it's full of crap, it's going to be sucking in crap or potentially plug. and then you're not going to be sucking any fuel. You'll basically create a negative pressure in your tank, and you won't be able to suck any fuel. So that's the reason I did the box. I'm still using the factory cap. I'm just creating a box around that cap to keep the cap itself clean. So hope that clears it up for you guys. I know I had a couple weird comments saying, you know, is it going to leak? Why don't you run the cap? Well, hope that clears up for you guys. So on that note, thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't, and we'll see you guys in the next video when we get to priming and coating this bad boy.